In the apartment of a young family, there was silence. It permeated every corner, at times becoming frightening in its uncertainty. The rooms gradually began to sink into darkness, with only a faint light piercing from the narrow corridor, left for whoever they were awaiting on this oppressive evening. And as the darkness descended, it conjured up unpleasant thoughts. The apartment's owner, Anna, a young woman in her 30s, had long put her little daughter, Alicia, to bed. The girl was unusually calm. So, it was enough to tuck her into her crib and cover her with a soft blanket for her to immediately fall asleep and visit Morpheus. Alone in the darkness, the woman indulged in her thoughts. She was married to a man named Matush. But as usual, he was late, and Anna mentally ran through the possible places he could be. Scenes of marital infidelity often came to mind so vividly that the woman involuntarily began to believe in the scenarios her imagination painted. The young family lived in a rented apartment on the outskirts of the city. Though spacious, the apartment was neglected. It had been rented out for a long time, and the previous tenants hadn't taken much care of it. The floor was swollen in places, the walls were peeling, and the windows leaked so much that any gust of wind immediately penetrated the apartment. "Matush, why don't you care that we're living in such conditions? You don't even do anything," Anna exclaimed. "And I won't. This isn't my place. When we have our own apartment, then I'll take care of household matters," Matush replied. "But to have our own place, we need to do something for it," Anna insisted. "Why are you picking a fight with me again? Do you want to argue?" Matush retorted. Thus, or nearly so, ended any conversation Anna initiated. Matush turned out to be not at all a family man. He was a musician, and all his time was consumed by endless rehearsals, performances, post-performance parties, and meetings with friends. He returned home well past midnight. During all this time, Anna spent her evenings alone with her daughter in anxious anticipation of her still beloved husband's return. Suddenly, footsteps were heard at the entrance. The door lock clicked, and Anna's heart skipped a beat. Matush burst into the apartment as usual, drunk. "Where were you? Why so late?" Anna asked, worried. "Working," the belated husband mumbled indistinctly. "Usually, after work, people return to their families on time and completely sober," Anna replied, trying to speak calmly. But she could barely maintain composure and began to raise her voice. "Why are you lecturing me about family? I told you, I was working." The man began to boil. He was drunk, so his behavior became increasingly inappropriate. This time, the conversation was short-lived. The man could barely stand on his feet. And Anna, well aware that she would suffer most from resolving the conflict, hastened to end it. Especially since her husband, having barely made it to bed, had already passed out. He slept right in his clothes, his head buried in the pillow. Anna felt a sense of disgust. No, she was deeply mistaken when she thought her love would be enough for two. Now the woman clearly understood that feelings should be mutual. "Anna, look who you've chosen as your husband. You'll live just like his parents, in perpetual need," acquaintances told her on the eve of the wedding. "A wife should choose someone reliable, who helps with the household, cares for the family, not someone who jumps around on stage," others said. Now those words sounded like a prophecy. Help from her musician husband was practically non-existent, and there was never enough money. Matush's situation didn't bother him at all. He had no desire to support the family. In fact, neither did his father. Their mother had carried all the family problems her whole life and had solved household issues alone. Anna's difficult situation was compensated by her caring parents. They always supported her in everything and adored their little granddaughter Alicia, who often stayed with them. "Alicina, our girl, how much we've missed you," Grandma and Grandpa greeted the little one when Anna brought her along. In Anna's parents' house, she had her own room with toys, her own crib, and even her own little wardrobe. So Anna didn't worry at all when leaving her there. She often shared her feelings with her mother. "Mom, Matush came home again at 3 in the morning today. Did you argue?" "Yes." Anna, try not to sort things out when he comes home drunk. Let him sleep it off and then talk. It was easy to say for someone with 30 years of married life experience. It was much harder for young people to control their emotions, which often overflowed. How could I have made such a mistake? Where did I miss the sign fate was giving me? Anna asked herself this question again and again. She often remembered the story of their meeting, which started with a phone call. Anna, came the questioning voice from the other end of the line. Yes, Senora Olivia. Do you recognize me? I'm glad. I want to make you a business offer. What kind? We're forming a new samba group. And we have one partner without a pair. Anna, who loved dancing very much though she had no special training, was very interested in this offer. She had just ended her relationship with Jose and wanted to distract herself. No, she didn't plan to make new acquaintances, especially since she had a 3-month-old daughter left from her last relationship, whom she now thought of first and foremost. When's the rehearsal? Anna asked without a second thought. Come tomorrow. At 5, came the reply. Thank you, Senora. Anna hung up the phone, and inside, she felt a flutter of anticipation for the next day. What should I wear? She said, opening the closet and rummaging through her wardrobe. The young woman didn't have many clothes, but she loved some of them very much. There was a brown leather skirt down to the knee and a beige short-sleeved sweater. She looked very stylish in them, so she decided to wear that outfit tomorrow. Mom, will you look after Alicia tomorrow? She asked her mother, Lucia. Of course. Do you have plans for tomorrow? Senora Olivia invited me to samba. I'm so happy. I love dancing so much. Do you remember how I danced the rumba? Oh, yes. Of course, I remember, dear. You move beautifully. I agree. You need to have some fun. Anna lived with her parents after breaking up with Jose, who happily helped her raise her little girl. The next day at the appointed hour, she entered the spacious concert hall, where she usually came as a spectator. The hall was dimly lit, with only the stage illuminated, where the same Senora Olivia who had called her the day before was already standing. The woman briskly moved around the stage, explaining something to a couple who had apparently arrived for rehearsal just before her. She was just over 30, and to Anna, she seemed like a true artist. The woman wore a flowing dress that accentuated every movement, the kind usually worn by ballet masters. Anna, you've come? Yes, Senora Olivia. Don't call me Senora. We're almost the same age. Your partner should be here any minute now. In the meantime, you can sit in the hall. Anna sat in a plush burgundy chair and continued to watch with interest the action unfolding on the stage. Olivia was teaching the young couple the elements of the samba. The young man timidly held his partner by the hips. No, not like that. Bolder, bolder, Olivia removed his fingers, moist with nervousness, from the hips of his partner and confidently moved them slightly higher. Like this. Just bolder, bolder. After those words, the couple began to mimic Olivia's movements, attempting to perform what vaguely resembled the fiery Latin dance. Throughout all this, Anna watched them with interest. She had never danced the samba herself, so she was eager to learn. Hi. Anna looked up and saw a tall, slender young man in front of her. He grinned widely, and Anna recognized him as the musician she often saw at concerts in this hall. Are you going to be my partner? Probably me, Anna answered timidly. Now she was sure that the man standing in front of her was indeed the musician, and she felt a bit overwhelmed. I'm Matush. Anna. Well, shall we go on stage, Anna? Matush extended his hand, and she gladly accepted the offer. The young woman was still in complete bewilderment, even though the rehearsal was in full swing. Matush confidently held her by the hips, intensifying her nervousness. Both were very flexible, so Olivia had no problems with them, unlike the other couple. She rarely approached them, so Matush took the initiative. You move well, Anna. Have you had any training? He asked. Yes, I love to dance. I had some lessons at the Matush dance school. Oh, so you can dance the rumba? After those words, the young man transitioned to rumba dance elements and pulled Anna along with him. The girl's excitement turned into pure delight. She was finally on stage, dancing her favorite dances, and there was no end. It hadn't even been 2 weeks since she packed her things and left Jose for her parents' house. She needed time to recover. But budding feelings stubbornly refused to obey reason. Anna immediately realized that Matush knew how to charm women, and he probably had many admirers. She didn't want to become just another of his fancies, although she noticed his interest in her. After the rehearsal, Anna hurried to leave before the others. Where did you disappear to last time? Matush asked at the next rehearsal. I have a little child, so I was in a rush to get home, Anna replied. She hoped that after these words, the young man would lose all interest in her, but she was mistaken. That's great. How old is your child? 2 months. Can I meet them? Anna didn't expect such a reaction, so she didn't know what to say. I also have a daughter from my first marriage. I love children very much. Anna was beginning to understand that she couldn't resist her feelings. She was utterly enchanted by this tall brunette, and his interest in her child completely won her over. After a few rehearsals, she allowed him to walk her home. Anna couldn't remember what they talked about, but she vividly remembered their first kiss, so hot and passionate, a sensation that lingered on her lips the rest of the evening. Now, she was in no hurry to go home after dance lessons. Each time, she and Matush would rush to his place to spend a few moments alone. He lived in a small but very cozy apartment. Anna liked everything there, the tiny kitchen and the small living room that also served as a place to relax and sleep, even though there was hardly any furniture. There was just an old sofa with brown upholstery where they usually spent their brief moments after rehearsals. The rest had been taken by his ex-wife when she left him with their child. Why did you split up? Anna dared to ask after a few meetings. She cheated on me. Openly, in a very vulgar and offensive way. Didn't you ever wonder why she did it? I still ask myself that to this day. So, you haven't let her go yet? Anna asked, disappointed. No, I don't even want to hear about her. But Anna understood that the flame for that wayward woman had not yet extinguished, and she was just a way to try to snuff it out. Had she been a bit wiser at that moment, she might have seen his true nature. But her feelings for Matush overshadowed everything. With every meeting, she fell more and more in love with him. Matush joyfully stayed with Alicia, knew how to keep her entertained, and spent a lot of time with her. Not every man is capable of dealing with children. But he was skilled at it. For Anna, this became the final argument in her feelings for Matush. Well, the penultimate one. The last was a toy rabbit given to Alicia for Christmas, which the little girl wouldn't let go of for a minute. Is this not a sign that it's possible to build new relationships? They had the wedding just 4 months later. Her parents unintentionally nudged her towards this decision. They saw how Matush treated Alicia and decided he would make a good father for her. Perhaps they also wanted to relieve themselves of the responsibility for their daughter and granddaughter, who lived with them. Regardless, gathering a small amount of money and only the closest relatives, they sent Anna down the aisle. It was a modest affair, without a white dress or lavish ceremony. She had lived with Matush for 2 years, but the feelings that had flared up then were fading so fast that she began to hate him. Matush, tomorrow is Independence Day. Have you thought about how we'll celebrate this holiday? And what does that have to do with you? I'm going to the pub with my friends, and how you celebrate is up to you. But on holidays, people gather with their families and celebrate together, Anna tried to object. I'll be celebrating with my male friends, Matush ended the conversation. Anna was even more upset after these words. They hardly went anywhere together. Matush usually slept off his revelries on holidays and weekends, so Anna had no choice but to be around him like a decent wife. She was looking forward to the next office party, to come home later than her husband for once in her life and make him jealous. But no matter how hard she tried, Matush always came home after she did. Regardless, she was going to spend another Independence Day just with little Alicia. Matush, dressed in a nice shirt and jeans, headed to the pub after noon. As usual, Anna put Alicia to bed and gave herself over to memories of her carefree life before meeting Matush. Suddenly, bright red blood began to flow from her nose. Large drops fell directly onto her clothes, and she was genuinely frightened. This had never happened to her before. In fear, she turned pale and rushed to the fridge, where she took out some ice and applied it to her nose. But the blood continued to flow. She had to call emergency services. "We gave you a hemostatic injection, but you need to see your doctor at the clinic tomorrow," said the medic who responded to the call. Anna decided not to tell her husband. He had little interest in her affairs, especially her health issues. "If you're sick, just lie down." "What do you want from me?" was his usual response if she complained about feeling unwell. Anna didn't postpone seeing the doctor because she was worried about her health. She had little Alicia, who needed a healthy mom. "I've prescribed some tests for you. Also, be sure to get an MRI of your brain. It might help diagnose you correctly." Test results alone can sometimes be insufficient, were the doctor's words, whom she visited the next day. After visiting the hospital, Anna completely shifted her focus onto herself and her little girl. It seemed like she paid less attention to her wayward husband and fully immersed herself in her own problems. After all the examinations, Anna returned to the doctor to hear her diagnosis. She had been thinking a lot lately and was prepared for any outcome. "You have a brain tumor. It's quite aggressive, growing rapidly, and putting pressure on vital organs. So, if it's not removed, you will gradually start losing your functional abilities, speaking, walking, seeing, and so on. What do you need from me?" Anna asked, trying to maintain composure. "Consent for surgery." "I agree," she interrupted the doctor. "But you'll need to get on the waiting list for that." "How long will I have to wait?" "I can't answer that." "But isn't it your responsibility?" "While I wait, the process could become irreversible. There's an alternative option, having the surgery at a private clinic." "Is it expensive?" "You'll need to inquire about that at another clinic and with another doctor." Anna left the office completely bewildered. She had expected such a turn of events, but she wasn't entirely ready for it. And can anyone really prepare themselves to hear a deadly diagnosis? "Don't lose heart, just don't lose heart," Anna reassured herself. She had a very strong motivator for her loving parents and little Alicia. She had already pushed her husband to the background, though she felt it necessary to share this heavy news with him. "Matush, I need surgery," she said to her husband when he returned home earlier than usual. "If you need it, do it," he replied indifferently. "But it's urgent, as any delay could make me disabled." "I don't have money, and I'm not going to take care of a disabled person either. So, solve your own problems." "I didn't expect any other answer," Anna concluded, unfazed by what she heard from her husband. Yes, usually spouses vow to be together in joy and sorrow. But not this time. Anna had to face this sorrow alone. Without postponing the matter, she found the address of a private clinic where such operations were performed. It was Dr. Eduardo Braga's clinic. He was a renowned surgeon known for his brilliant operations. She read very positive reviews about one of the doctors and decided to choose him. "You'll need to undergo examination at our clinic. Only then can I make a final diagnosis," the doctor said during the first visit. "I agree," Anna replied. She had saved up some money and could afford the examination. She hadn't asked yet how much money would be needed for the surgery if necessary. Anna sent little Alicia to her parents, warned Matush, and went for the examination. It was a very decent hospital. In the ward where she was placed, there was another patient. Anna was given a soft gray knit suit with the clinic's emblem and brought lunch. It was a large tray with specially designated spots for drinks and food. The plates emitting the aroma of delicious food were covered. There were fruits and several types of bread. The meal was, to say the least, not typical hospital fare. "Don't be embarrassed, they always feed like this here," her ward neighbor replied. She approached Anna and extended her hand. "I'm Victoria, what's your name?" "Anna." "Are you here for long?" "However long it takes. If you feel like it, you can share." Anna had no desire to engage in conversation with anyone, and after lunch, she decided to lie down for a while to rest. Lately, she had been quite overwhelmed and wanted to get some proper rest before facing the upcoming examination actively. Her condition wasn't bothering her yet, but she couldn't shake off the feeling of anxiety. 30 years old, the most active and vibrant age. She wanted to live a full life, take care of herself, her child. Now she vividly understood that she had spent the last few years on someone who didn't deserve her attention. She no longer felt the need to see him, seek advice from him, or spend time with him. This situation made her look at her life completely differently. "No, I won't go back to him anymore. We don't have a joint apartment, no children. We'll break up, and that will be the end of it," Anna pondered. But deep down, there was still hope that Matush would suddenly show care and sympathy towards her, and everything would be different between them. Yes, love is a tricky thing. It often pushes us to actions that, guided by reason, we would hardly ever dare to take. "Anna, they're waiting for you," the pretty nurse interrupted her brief nap. "Already? I thought they'd only attend to me tomorrow. The doctor is reviewing your medical history and wants to speak with you personally. Give me a couple of minutes. I need to freshen up." Anna got up from the bed and went into the bathroom. It was like in an expensive hotel, all made of expensive ceramics. The floor was heated, and there were electric towel warmers built into the wall. Here awaited her a white terrycloth robe and an equally soft towel. Yes, the service here is truly top-notch, Anna thought. She quickly freshened up and went to the doctor's office. Pausing at the door, she timidly knocked. "Yes, come in," a deep male voice sounded. Anna entered the office. Her attending physician was sitting behind the desk. His name was Umberto Soles. He was carefully reading her medical history, flipping through the pages. The man looked up and adjusted his glasses, which had slipped to the tip of his nose. "Ah, Anna. Please, have a seat," the doctor gestured for her to sit across from him. Anna, as a dutiful patient, complied immediately. "Based on your previous examinations, you have an aggressive form of tumor." "Yes, I know," she replied completely calmly. "I'll need to conduct further tests to confirm or refute the diagnosis. This is standard practice. If it's a serious condition, it needs to be confirmed by at least 2 or 3 specialists." "Yes, I understand. Do whatever is necessary." Umberto carefully looked at his patient. He was somewhat surprised by her composure. A young, beautiful woman, she dignifiedly accepted her uncertain situation. Doctors often had to reassure their patients when it came to serious illnesses. But this was more of an exception. "Will anyone be visiting you?" the doctor asked. "If so, I'll need to issue a pass." "No, no one will be coming to see me." Umberto was even more surprised by the response. Moreover, he noticed the wedding ring. So, the woman had at least a spouse. This situation somewhat alarmed him. But patients' personal lives are primarily their own concern. Anna left the doctor's office and headed home. "So, what did the doctor say?" Victoria asked. She was terribly curious and very talkative. As a woman of a certain age, she was interested in the personal lives of the young. Her children had already grown up, there was no spouse, so there were hardly any significant events in her life. He said that a complete examination will be needed to confirm or refute the diagnosis. "Yes, that's usual. I came here with a terrible diagnosis myself, but it turned out that things weren't so bad after all. I just need to undergo a course of treatment, and I'll be able to return to my old life. Thank goodness, my children placed me in this clinic. They found it themselves and paid for everything to the last penny. Victoria kept talking and had already tired Anna. Let's talk tomorrow. I'm very tired. Of course, of course. Don't be shy. I often get carried away with conversations. It's all due to lack of communication. I live alone. My children have long since grown up. But Anna wasn't listening anymore. She lay on the hospital bed, covered with a soft blanket, and began to drift off to sleep. The next day turned out to be very hectic. Nurses kept coming for Anna to take her to another examination room. And the whole week flew by unnoticed. Anna was already beginning to miss her family. Rarely, but still, she remembered her Matush, who had only called once during the week, just to say the obligatory phrase, "How are you?" "Anna, please, have a seat," Umberto offered the woman to sit across from him. The woman sat on the offered chair and leaned against its back. She was completely calm. The week she spent in the hospital ward finally put everything in its place. "Unfortunately, I have no good news for you. The tumor is progressing and urgent surgery is required." Anna listened carefully to the doctor, and not a single muscle twitched after the diagnosis was announced. "How much money will it take?" "The amount is huge. And it's not within my power to influence its cost." "I understand. How much?" Anna asked firmly. The doctor wrote down some numbers on a piece of paper and handed it to the woman. "Will you be able to raise the necessary amount?" "I'll try." Anna entered her dreaded apartment in a heavy state. All her calmness and composure had vanished somewhere. She didn't know where to get the money, and it seemed that the hope that had been living in her for the past while was leaving her. "I have no savings whatsoever. And even if I did, it wouldn't be enough," she pondered. Alicia was playing nearby, whom she had taken away from her parents. The girl had missed her terribly, so she brought her toys right to her feet to be close to her beloved mommy. Anna looked at her little daughter, tears filling her eyes. Suddenly, she vividly imagined her lying helpless, with Alicia bustling around her just as she was now. Only, she couldn't cuddle her, hold her, or kiss her. "I'll talk to Matush. Maybe he can help me with something," Anna thought, trying to distract herself from the bleak thoughts. "Where will I get so much money?" "Are you out of your mind?" "I'm not a millionaire," her spouse's words sounded like a sentence. Yes, there was no one else to count on. "Well, did you manage to raise the necessary amount?" Umberto asked when Anna arrived at the appointed time. "Unfortunately, no. I don't have that kind of money, and neither does my family," Anna said sadly. Umberto noticed that she no longer had the same confidence and firmness in her words that he had heard from this woman just a few days ago. He felt sorry for her and tried to comfort her. "Don't despair. There are plenty of funds that help raise money for seriously ill people. I've never contacted them before. Don't worry, I'll give you some addresses." Anna approached a tall building with a sign that read, "Kind Hearts Foundation." She had no experience dealing with such organizations, so she hesitated in front of the door leading into the building. "Where do I start the conversation? How should I behave? Who should I talk to?" One thought followed another. Finally, she decided to go in. Anna found herself in a spacious lobby with high ceilings. It seemed that in this building, they stretched up so high that they were impossible to see. She began to look around for someone to ask for help. Looking around, she saw the reception and a pretty girl. "Excuse me, could you tell me who I can talk to?" came a timid question. "What seems to be the problem?" And Anna began to explain why she was here. "I understand," said the girl in a businesslike gray suit after the visitor voiced her problem. "You need to go to the second floor. Office 38. "Thank you," Anna thanked her and started climbing the stairs. "Yes, come in," a male voice came from behind the door after she knocked. "Please help me." After these words, Anna's nerves gave way, and she burst into tears in front of the stranger. The nervous tension, worry for her loved ones and herself, everything that had been troubling her for so long, but she had carefully kept it inside. Please calm down. We will help you." These words, spoken in a calm and confident voice, had the strongest effect on Anna. She raised her head and saw a man around 40. He had a very brave expression on his face, as if he performed feats daily. Though his job was indeed a feat, only those who are strong in spirit and capable of empathy can help seriously ill people. How Anna hadn't been lucky with such people until now. She was surrounded by weak-willed, feeble characters like her spouse. And this stranger instilled some confidence, and she wanted to believe that everything would be all right. It was as if he was saying with his whole demeanor, "Don't worry, I'll help you." Anna calmed down a bit and began to tell her story. The man listened attentively, trying not to miss a single word. This young woman also intrigued him, not only with her problem. Anna was quite an attractive girl, but in recent years, she heard fewer compliments about her appearance from those around her. So she immediately caught his interested gaze. No, not this, she thought when she met his eyes once again. She remembered Matush's beautiful courtship, his beautiful words and caresses, which he did not spare during their courtship. And what followed after marriage. I won't go through this again, she thought, and cast her gaze into the distance, as if looking through this person. Well, of course, we'll help you, the stranger said when Anna finally voiced her problem. But first, let's get acquainted. I'm Alberto. And your name, as I understand, is Anna? Yes, that's correct. Anna. A young woman with such a beautiful name should have everything good. So far, I can't boast of anything. You have a wonderful little girl. And that's the most important thing in your life. Yes, that's the greatest joy. Let's get down to business. Our foundation will allocate some funds. But it's not able to provide such a large sum, so we'll need to organize the collection of the remaining funds. How do we do that? I've never dealt with this before. Don't worry. You'll only need to do what we tell you. You can't imagine how glad I am that everything is falling into place. Anna seemed to have forgotten her recent thoughts about the inadmissibility of new relationships and looked at her savior tenderly. Don't think about the bad. You'll see, everything will work out, and you'll recover. And I'll help you with that. Don't doubt it, Alberto's words sounded like a healing elixir. The next day, a bank account was opened, and the first funds from the foundation were received. It remained only to gather the remaining amount. For this purpose, a fundraising campaign was organized on all social networks. Literally within a week, the necessary amount was collected. Mom, you won't believe it, I have the entire amount needed for the surgery in my account. Anna couldn't contain the excitement overflowing her feelings. After these words, she threw herself into her mother's arms, and tears rolled down Lucia's cheeks. Oh, my dear, my dear. Everything is fine, her daughter tried to calm her, wiping tears from her face. There are good people in the world. I prayed to Mother Paulina day and night for her to help you. Thank God, she heard my prayers, Lucia said, tears streaming down her cheeks. Thank you, my beloved mom. Have you already told Matush about this? Lucia asked, somewhat calmer. No, I haven't seen him yet. And is it worth telling him about it? We've grown so distant from each other in the last few weeks that I would like to erase him from my life. Don't rush. You'll have plenty of time to be alone with the child in your arms. Anna came home in high spirits. The rented apartment no longer invoked gloomy thoughts in her. On the contrary, the bright sunlight streaming through the window glass heralded good news. You were positively glowing with happiness. What happened? Matush noticed the changes in his wife's behavior, so he couldn't help but ask when he returned home. The foundation has raised all the necessary funds for my surgery. Tomorrow, I'm checking into the clinic. Well, that's wonderful. I have news for you too. I'm finally going to Europe to ski in the Alps. It's been a long-standing dream of mine. And our group is planning to organize a concert tour right here. The contract is already being prepared. I didn't know you were so famous. And it's the first time I've heard about your dream. Yeah, lately you've been focused solely on yourself, so I didn't tell you. Anna reacted to this news quite calmly. After all, she had almost let him go. How long will you be gone? For a couple of months. And money? I have some savings. Yes, my husband has some savings, while a charity foundation is raising money for my surgery. Anna tried to be sarcastic. This has been my long-standing dream. Don't you understand? That's the point. I understand how your art and dreams are more important to you than your family. Back to that again? Family, family. What's your fixation? But Anna uttered these words intuitively, without any resentment. She had long come to terms with the fact that her family consisted of just her and Alicia. After a brief quarrel, each went about their business. Anna started packing for the hospital, and Matush began packing his suitcase. Suddenly, the phone rang. Anna picked up the receiver and saw an unfamiliar number. Nevertheless, she decided to answer. Anna, she heard a familiar voice. Yes. How did you get my number, Alberto? It wasn't difficult at all. Oh, right. Of course. I wanted to inquire about when your surgery is scheduled. I'm checking into the hospital tomorrow. Excellent. I'm very glad. Can I visit you? Well, of course. Then see you soon. Anna was very pleased with this call. The pleasant feeling she had after communicating with this person lingered with her. Just remembering his face made her feel very warm and peaceful. How are you feeling? Anna opened her eyes and saw Umberto in front of her, the same doctor who had conducted her last examination. A bit dizzy. But overall, I think I'm okay. The surgery was successful. The tumor has been removed, and the vital centers of the brain are not affected. Now, you will recover. What will be required of me? Rest more, eat well, and only positive emotions. Well, the latter I guarantee, said Alberto, who had already entered the room with a huge bouquet of flowers. Alberto, you shouldn't have, Anna said weakly. Don't say anything. Rest. Congratulations on the successful operation. After these words, he left. With such a patron, you'll recover quickly, the doctor smiled. Anna nodded in agreement and closed her eyes again. She was still very weak, and she wanted to sleep. Hey buddy, why the sour face? Enrique, who was Mateusz's cheerful director, entered the dressing room where Mateusz was preparing for his performance. He was much younger than Mateusz, but that didn't stop him from making his way and building a career for his protege. In response, not a word was uttered. Mateusz? He approached closely and looked him in the face. The man sat in the chair and seemed to take no notice of what was happening around him. Anna is dead, he said in a voice that wasn't his own, very low. Don't talk nonsense. You told me yourself that the surgery was successful and Anna is recovering. Wait, are you deciding to cancel the concert? Lucia sent a message. What message? Enrique snatched the phone from Mateusz's hands and began frantically searching for the message Mateusz mentioned. Finally, he found it and started reading. Anna's kidneys failed after the surgery. The doctors couldn't do anything. Your wife is no more. Is this some kind of joke? Is she playing a trick on us? Enrique spoke, still not fully understanding what had happened. Alicinia, little one, how is she now? Mateusz continued in the same unfamiliar voice. All right, that's enough. Anna can't be brought back now, and you have a concert in an hour. Do you want to say that you've decided to throw away your career just like your fiancé? Are you out of your mind? Mateusz began to boil. I might be in mine, but it seems like you forgot we have a 6-month contract. And if we breach it, we'll be in deep trouble. So mourn after the concert, which you'll play flawlessly, Enrique concluded. Mateusz couldn't remember how he performed at the concert, what he did, or what he said to the audience. But after it ended, he collapsed into the nearest bar, where under the influence of copious amounts of alcohol, he fell into complete oblivion. Enrique left him alone for a few days. Afterward, Matush began to gradually regain himself and return to his concert activities as the contract demanded. Ladies and gentlemen, the plane is beginning its descent. Please fasten your seatbelts, the young redhead stewardess recited her standard phrase, and most of the passengers immediately became lively. Some started calling their loved ones, others engaged in lively conversation with their neighbors, whom they would soon bid farewell to. Matush sat by the window and was deeply contemplative. 6 months had passed since he became a widower. He didn't know where to go now. The apartment where he and Anna lived together was rented. He was now a complete stranger to Anna's mother, just as he was to Alicia. But he decided to visit them first, to find out where his wife was buried. Anna is buried at the Mombanda Cemetery. Our family crypt is located there. Lucia, not pleased with the guest, immediately provided the address where he should go. Matush stood by the gravestone, lost in thought. Now, at her tomb, he began to clearly realize who Anna was to him. No, not just a beloved woman. She was his guardian angel. His wife endured all his antics, remaining obedient and caring. He began to understand that he had lost the family that Anna constantly reminded him of. And all this time, he had lived only for his own interests, oblivious to everything and everyone around him. And, most frighteningly, he didn't want to love anyone. After all, once his feelings had already betrayed him. And he decided for himself that he would never allow himself to love anyone again. How wrong he was. You finally decided to visit Anna? I think you're half a year late, a voice came from behind. Matush turned around and saw a stranger. My name is Alberto. You don't know me. Then how do you know me and my Anna? It would be strange not to know her. She's my beloved woman. Beloved woman? Are you a necrophile? Alberto was about to laugh, but caught himself, realizing it wasn't the place for such liberties. At that moment, Anna appeared behind Alberto. Alive and perfectly healthy. Matush was speechless. Yes, quite a day you're having. Come to visit your deceased wife and meet the living one. Flesh and blood. How's your heart holding up? Anna said sarcastically. This can't be. Matush exclaimed suddenly, snapping out of his brief stupor. No, I'm not dead. We tricked you, Anna replied calmly. How did you trick me? Why? Matush was baffled. So you finally understand who you really are, a narcissistic, selfish type who never loved anyone. I'm grateful to fate for giving me such a trial, to overcome a serious illness. It made me reassess my life and my feelings towards you, Matush. I'm grateful to it for giving me Alberto, a truly loving and caring person. With him, I feel completely protected. And most importantly, I finally understand who I really am. After these words, Matush burst into tears and threw himself at her feet. Forgive me, Anna, if you can. You've already punished yourself by being left completely alone. I hold no grudges against you and forgave you long ago. The only request is, never appear in my life again. I've earned the right to be happy. Anna said this calmly. There was no trace of past feelings. They were simply destroyed, trampled, and turned to dust. She had almost forgotten her past life. The woman took Alberto's hand, and they walked away. And Matush continued to stand by her grave, staring at the gravestone. What thoughts consumed him in these moments were known only to him. Yes, how often it happens in life, for a person to find true happiness, they must go through thorns and sufferings. Although, perhaps, without that, we would never truly appreciate what we have. Dear viewers, if you enjoyed the story, please support the video by liking it and leaving a comment. Thank you very much.